the committee responsible for CDF, and I also want to acknowledge and appreciate the reception here by the host, the head, Olendulu. Let me also acknowledge and appreciate the presence of the school heads or their proxies that are here. I also recognize the presence of our councillors, other stakeholders, hostile creatives, the news team that is here for the media. We appreciate your presence. We thank you so much for joining us on this very important day and this very important occasion. I will give a brief outline of why we are here, where we are coming from, where we are, and the direction that we are taking going forward. The reason why we are here today on this ceremony is to give funding in terms of the Constituent Development Fund that was allocated to the office of the MP to the schools so that they may partake in the projects that the committee set down and agreed upon. So the system, the parliamentary system works in that each and every MP, constituent MP, the 210 MPs are given funding in terms of the development of the constituents. So obviously Hwange Central is not an exception, and since the election in 2018, we have been allocated some funding towards the development of the constituents. So the first port of call that we did after the elections was to constitute a committee of the CDF, and we made a public call to say may whoever is interested, who is a citizen of Hwange Central, to attend the meeting that was held at Namlwendulu Hall. And we then constituted a committee of a lady and these gentlemen. The committee constituted of about 8 members. And that committee was elected at the public meeting that we held in 2018. The other thing that we did was to create a public platform in terms of the WhatsApp medium, to then have people or the community actually giving input on which projects are we able to then partake, because we wanted to be people-oriented in terms of coming up with these projects or funding these projects. So that group, we always make sure that whoever has got an idea on which areas we need to tackle as the office of the MP and as the constituents. Then from there we try and sit down as the committee and look at the possible or the proposed projects that we might undertake. So that's the public platform that is going to be live up to 2023, because these disbursements, they come annually, which means we get them each and every year. So when the committee was constituted, we then called for proposals of projects, and we had quite a number of them that came through. And we then sat down as a committee, and the one that had actually much support, majority support, was the Hwange Community Radio. So in 2018, the project that was supposed to fund was the Hwange Community Radio. Then when we managed to put up the application, we had a challenge in terms of the bank account. So the system of parliament was saying we must inherit the previous account from the previous MP. But we had challenges of about 12 months or so in terms of assessing that account. And we ended up agreeing with Parliament that we shall open a new account. So that was now in 2019. And when we open the account, we then had to file our project proposal, like I said, like I mentioned, the community radio. But after a few months or so, we then received that project proposal was rejected. So we are almost towards the end of 2019. I'm giving you this background so that you also appreciate where we are coming from. You also appreciate why it has taken this long for us to get here. That's why I'm actually narrating the process, the details of where we are coming from. So it's also meant to promote accountability and transparency, because that's one of the key issues that as an office we have taken oath to say in these 5 years we are going to make sure that there is accountability, we are going to make sure that there is transparency. And we are saying we are not doing this today here only, but for all the disbursements we are going to make them public. This is the reason why today we even invited the media, so that they are here to also witness the transparency and the accountability that we are promoting in Hwange Central. So this is the first time, I am not sure with the other constituencies, but this is the first time in this constituency where we have such a public platform in terms of how we are going to disperse the CDF funds. So it's something that we say as an office, we need to make it very public. And all the accounts that we are going to do, we are going to make sure that we publicize them, because this is a public fund, and therefore we should be accountable to the community, to the people that are supposed to be the beneficiaries. So in 2019, we then sat down again after that first project proposal was rejected, and we then said, okay, there is another one that we already had in the bag, but it was on the Park Bay. We then agreed that we are going to try and assist the schools. So we then said, how are we going to assist the schools? Initially, our idea was to make sure that we paint the whole buildings within a school, meaning the toilets, the classroom, the administration blocks, and everything else. But when we looked at the funds that are there, we saw that if we do that, we're only going to be able to assist 1 or 2 schools. And we said it would look unfair, looking at the fact that we are already 3 years down the line, and we are all left with about 2 disbursements for 2021 and 2022. We are not very sure with the 2023 one, because that's the year where we are going to be having our general election. So, what amount are we talking about here? We are talking about an amount of 400 RTGS that covers 2019, 2018, beg your pardon, 2018, 2019, and 2020. So it's 400,000 RTGS. So we then said the system that we had come up with was to say we have got 18 wards physical. So 18 wards, we have got 3 rural wards that we have. So we said we are going to divide the constituents into 2, the urban wards and the rural wards. And we are going to alternate in terms of funding, to say 2018 we give the urban wards, 2019 we give the rural wards, 2020 we come back to urban, 2021 we go back to rural, 2022 we come back to urban, and 2023, if it's possible, we go back to rural. So unfortunately, this disbursement has taken long, like I've explained, and it has come in 2020. We then agreed to say this disbursement will then cover the urban ones for these 3 years. Then 2021, the CDF funds are going to be allocated to the rural ones. So we are also going to go back and open up our platforms to receive project proposals based on the rural wards, the 3 rural wards. So in 2021, we're not going to have CDF being channeled towards the urban wards. So we might come back in 2023, because we've said 2021, 2022, obviously we'll focus on the rural wards, because already the urban wards have taken the 3. So if so happens that we get another disbursement before the election in 2023, we'll then come back to the urban wards. We are also looking at the fact that we have got more wards in the urban. So that's the process that we have gone so far. Then from this 400,000, we then said, how do we make sure that all the schools benefit? We then agreed to say, if we are going to be painting our administration blocks for all the schools here in urban, how far can we go? And we then saw what most probably we might cover our schools, most probably those that are a little bit disadvantaged, because you are aware we have got Thomas Quarter, we have got Caulfields, we have got Megawards, we have got Ingagula, we have got Gebusa. We then said, okay, when we look at Rendulu, St. Ignatius, forgive me, I'm just using you as examples, and we look at Thomas Court, obviously the ground is not left in terms of the development aspects. Then we said, we'll disqualify these other elite schools like Thomas Porter, like Ingagula. The reason was because it's being funded by EZPC, Megawatt is being funded by EZPC. Let's look at these other schools that have got a real need. We know they've got issues at Thomas Quarter, we know they've got issues at Caulfields. They might actually come to us and say, but we are also part of the Hwange Central constituency. But we are also saying, fine, you are in the Hwange Central constituency, but we think at the moment there are other people who have got a more need than you. To you, it's more of a want. To these other schools, it's more of a need. So we then agreed to say 11 schools are going to be the beneficiaries of this disbursement. So we have got Makwika Primary School as one of the beneficiaries. We have got Lusumbani Primary School. We have got Sir Humphrey Primary School. We have got Hwange Secondary School. We have got Mabinga Primary School. We have got St. Ignatius Primary School. We have got the Worst, the Lwendulu Primary School. We have got the Chilisa Secondary School. We have got Nechiwondo Primary School and St. George's Primary School. So, and Hwange High School. So in terms of our secondary schools, we tried to make sure that we only pick one. Like one secondary automatically represents number 2, number 5, and number 3. Then we said Hwange High automatically represents number 1 and Sendrela. Then we said Chilisa will represent Mpumalanga. We are also quickly aware that we have another secondary school in Mpumalanga. What's the name? Kalope Secondary School. And we said maybe in the next disbursement we can then consider it, but we then saw we can then maybe give 2 secondary schools in almost the same location. The same location in the aspect that it's in the Mpumalanga area. Right, so that's how we came about to make these decisions. I'm explaining this because I talked of accountability, I talked of transparency, so I'm sharing this information so that even if the next person do ask a question and you are near, you are also in a position to explain what I have just explained. Maybe MC can take this opportunity to give those that is
maybe at this point of time we can ask those who are just joining us to introduce themselves. And from
I'm from Wcoz Secondary School.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Madam Sibusisiwe Mumba.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming. We're not secure until now. So now we're very safe because you've got people from to Uti Kaling and Uti Dawama Watanj. We have said even once 14 words, then the 3 rural words. So we had said 2018, we'll make sure that CDF is focused on EPIN. Okay. 2019, we focus on the 3 rural words. 2020, so the zebra crossing. 2020, we come back to the EPIN. 2021, we go back to the rural. 2022, we come back to the EPIN. Then, if it so happens, because 2023 we are not sure, it depends on the month and the date of the election. So that's how we've done it. But unfortunately, with the processes that I explained, this money took a long time. First, it was the issue of the account. Second, it was the rejection of our initial project proposal. Then, Masai Fagima Lega 1 for 2018, 2019, and 2020. So we have now said, okay, so we are just going to make sure that the EPIN benefits those 3 years. Then 2021, we are focusing on rural. 2022, we are focusing on rural. We will only come back to EPIN in 2023. So 2021, we'll go out to the rural and do a consultation again to see which project can we fund in terms of the CDF committee. And this committee is responsible for that, not the office of the MP. Okay, so the issue of repairs that we're talking about in terms of submitting those requisitions. So what we have done is, in terms of you coming for this meeting, I think there is actually a focal person who has been actually talking to your inboxes. So you'll find, like Mina, I've been working with the schools, SA number 5, the Lusumbami, the 1 secondary, and the Humphrey and so forth. So those focal persons are the people that you need to go back to them. Because that's the person in terms of painter, in terms of the colors, and in terms of everything else that has to do with ECDF. Then Yena says that feedback to the whole committee. So we have assigned our committee members to a particular school or to particular schools. There is no school unless if it's there. Engati Tina Asila an assigned person to us. But by virtue of you being here, it means that assigned person is the one that invited you. So that's how we're going to be operating, administrative. I think I've answered that one.
I was looking at a situation whereby this is the administration block. Anything that needs to be repaired within that structure, we submit. But if it's not yet clear yet, if I'm to say I'm submitting a repairs, I'm Samsung. So I think we need to be very specific about what exactly are we looking at to try and those repairs.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because we acting as a balance. So I think you are also aware that our funds are not permitting, but we are trying to do our best with the limit.
Okay, I think now, thank you so much for explaining the system. Let me confirm, can you then, whether maybe if we want to do the painting, are we allowed to do painting of floors if our admin doesn't necessarily need the painting now? Can we waive that and do the painting? And since it's painting, just to confirm that.
Another question. of time, there are some who have just joined us. You can introduce yourself. Feel free to.
You must raise your hand next to them.
Vice Chair of the Board.
Slide AD, Councillor 14.
Thank you very much. Let me acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Chair of the local board, the two councillors for Ward 14 and Ward 4 that have just come in, and also appreciate the presence of the heads that have come in. I think I'd really gone quite a distance in terms of explaining where we are coming from in terms of the CDF. We were now at a stage where we were getting reactions from the presentation that I had given, and when you got in, I was actually attending to the first set of questions in terms of how we came about to come up with this project, and also to the issues of, say, is it cast in the concrete that you only need to paint the administration block, and I've actually tried to answer that one, but I'm seeing the question also came up to say the issue of doors, and like I've said, it's not cast in the concrete. We are flexible because we are people oriented. We cannot feed you with chaff. We cannot feed you with poison. We need to feed you with food that is going to build up your bodies. So we are very flexible to address that. That's one of the reasons why we did not buy the paint in advance. Because as we speak right now, we could be saying that when we already have the paint here, and we are now saying, ito, we painting sort of such thing. So that's one reason that we say we also need to call up the people and find out in terms of the type of the paint that they need, the color of the paint, then we process. So it's also part of the consultation process that we are doing today. So obviously, what we are going to do, madam, is when you now register, you then say, Minamfuna depend amateurs. Then it makes things simple. When you are now ordering, we make sure that we meet your demands. So that's the response that I want to give in terms of that single question that came up in the next round of the question session. Okay?
How far does it go? Because we may think that we all know what we mean. Because I heard you say, like Mafika, they can use 15 liters, it's enough. But what is the definition of the admin block? Because some of these admin blocks have toilets in them, the head's office, the deputy head's office. So how far does it go, this 15 liters of paint? So that when we supervise these painters, we tell them that we have to paint this room where there is the head. But when we talk of the admin, it's not only the head. We've got the head and the deputy also falling under admin. So I don't know what you used to measure, to say we are going to paint this head mapping.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to take you back a bit. It's just a short question which is the same explanation on the members of our CDF community. Maybe if you can introduce them to us if they are around here, or they're just these two.
Okay.
Any
Yeah, sorry, maybe I missed something from your explanation.
information here. You said, right, we have this project of painting, isn't it? You said after you give us the paint, we paint our administration looks this and that. And you say if funds remain, we can make requisitions of some repairs or maintenance that we want done at our schools. Where do we send? My question is, where do we send these?
Okay.
Last one.
Let me attend to your questions. Thank you so much for those very important questions. Thank you so much for